Happy Sunday, everybody, and welcome to the Big Football Show. I'm your host, Mac, with your co-host, Jack Hirsch, and, of course, former Dallas Super Bowl legend himself, Jim Jeffcoat, as we come on and we bring you the best football show on Sunday here, the Big Football Show. Today on the show, we'll have Keith Angle coming in, giving you a college review and some Pats news, followed by Robert Butler, who will be in with the big stories. We'll also have the Philly sports guy coming in, of course, with his side of the Phillies in the big game against Dallas. The Eagles in Dallas, big one this week. And then we got Commander Nash, and we also have the Jet Man in talking. We'll talk a little bit about the unbelievably well-played game between the Jets and the Giants on Sunday. And then looking forward, of course, the Jets are going up against the Chargers, which should be a very interesting game. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, guys. How you doing?
Hey, good morning.
So let's start, Jim. Me and Jack always talk Friday about the Thursday night game. I'd like to get your opinion on the Pittsburgh Steelers, Tennessee game. You got defense with the Steelers, and of course the rookie quarterback for the Titans, Levis, played okay, I guess, for a rookie in his second game. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it was his second game, but I tell you what, I need to apologize because I didn't think the Steelers were going to be very good this year, and the Steelers are competitive. Mike Tomlin doesn't get the credit that he deserves. He's one of the better coaches in the NFL.
Wait, Jim. Yours truly is gone on record as saying Mike Tomlin's the best coach in the NFL. So how could you say he doesn't get the credit?
You don't take your opinion, Jack.
Oh, well, okay.
No, you didn't. But I thought they were going to struggle this year, obviously, with Pickett. But I should have known. Pickett's from the Jersey Shore, and those Jersey Shore guys play hard. I mean, because he wasn't supposed to play this week. He was supposed to be out.
That is true. He did wear some extra padding for that game. Of course, what's the choice? You got him or Trubisky, and Trubisky is not any better. In fact, I don't think he's any better than Pickett. So, I mean, they listen. I respect the Steelers. Always have. I think sort of like the Cowboys in the '70s. I don't respect the Cowboys anymore. And you know the Eagles I respect a lot too. And you know it just listen. It looked It was a well-played game, really, for a low-scoring game, I thought. Again, I think the kid played well for his second game. He did really good his first game. And maybe Keith Angle was right. Maybe Levis is one of the better quarterbacks coming out.
That's a possibility, but, you know, we have to give him more games to see. And then, hey, Rick, How are you doing? Rick,
everyone is trying to kind of lift Jim up a little bit because his predictions have kind of been, you know, a little off. You know, Jim's picked over 80%.
A lot off. Jack,
that's historical, Jim. That's historical.
Jack, the only thing I gamble with is craps because I can have the dice in my hands. I don't gamble horses, and I don't gamble on people.
Anyway, Mac says he's giving you a bye this week.
If Jim wants a bye week,
I do not want to buy. I'm going to win this week.
Jim's fighting through. Good morning to Keith Angle. Keith, how you doing this morning? Talking about picking hot. Him and Jack are the two leaders right now. And
well, we're going to end that this week. I can tell you.
All right, good. And again, you know, even Jack's significant other, you know.
Thank you, Audrey. Thank you,
yes.
Audrey.
We tried out. Jim doesn't listen. We brought in Byron Williams. Byron says Jim doesn't listen to him. That's what made Jim a great player, his stubbornness.
Listen.
Very stubborn. It helps him on the field. It doesn't help him off the field.
Jim told me.
Why would I listen to Byron?
Yes.
Jim told me one
time to be the top team in the NFL.
That's right.
In fairness, Jim did tell me one time the only thing he'll gamble on is professional wrestling, and just so he can have thing.
That is true. I forgot about that, Keith.
I've been getting beat up this morning.
Keith, listen, some really, really good, exciting college football games. Again, I've been watching college football a lot more than I have that I have in the
Saturdays are better than Sundays. I'm sorry, they just are. Saturdays are better than Sundays.
You know what, Jack?
Yes. And
Audrey is a wonderful young lady.
She's been backing you. When I joke about you here, she doesn't want to hear about it. So she's on your side, I'll say that.
yes,
Well,
there
the
you
choice
go.
she's
Go ahead, Keith.
That's a good point.
I'm sorry. I'm just
So,
kidding. I'm just kidding.
so Keith, let's get to it. We had a number one. The rankings finally came out. They put Ohio State at number one and dropped Georgia to number two. Ohio State responds with a 35-16 win over Rutgers. There was no doubt in this game that Ohio State should beat Rutgers, Keith.
This was a close game until the third quarter. Rutgers was going in to go ahead by 2 scores, and they fumbled the ball, and Georgia ran it back for a Ohio State ran it back for a touchdown.
It was intercepted. No, the interception. That play when Rutgers was leading 9-7, why did the quarterback get fancy? Like he stepped in like it was a quarterback draw, then he stepped back, off balance, it got deflected.
Yeah.
And that was the game basically there. They were nursing a 2-point lead, and you knew Ohio State was taking
That was the old Tebow play.
Yeah, that turned the whole game around right there. Yeah. So anyway, Ohio State gets a big win at the end of the day, but again, they struggled for 2.5 quarters anyway.
Well, we'll see when they play a really tough game like tough team like Georgia, who had their hands full with Missouri, but Missouri's no joke, Keith.
Missouri's a pretty good team. We talked about it here Friday that, I thought they might keep it close. They actually had a chance to win this game. Their defense just isn't that good yet, and their offense, they really got one go-to guy, I think, on offense. But they've scored. They got nothing to be ashamed of.
No.
This cost them any chance to get to the SEC championship game, but this is a good football team, and they'll get a good bowl game maybe.
I agree. They might get a January 1st game.
They might if they win out. Yeah.
True. That's true. Rick in the comments has said something about Air Force. Rick, I'm not talking to you right now. I mean, you're talking about my Air Force team. We will talk about that later with the Army victory. Oh, my. Well, it's the rivalry, man. Navy, Army, Air Force at any time. Any one of those teams.
Mac, you had a tough day. Your home state of Connecticut. What did they lose? 59-3 or something?
I'm sure they got a big payday. They got a big payday.
Yeah, Keith, we'll stop there for a second, and I want to talk about that for a second. Get your opinion. Listen, I'm all for you playing tough teams and getting money thrown in your till. But how the hell are you going to recruit anybody when you have a 1-8 record playing all these? They're playing another top-ranked team next week. I mean, you got to be able to recruit and put a winning season together. I'm all for getting your team money, but man, come on.
Here's the thing you got to do. There's a lot of players out there. You got to develop them. You got to find guys that have upside, and hopefully you hit it right. Quarterback.
It's a double.
Jim, all those players are taking off in the portal. They're losing players in the portal because they're tired of losing. It's a vicious circle. I kind of feel bad for Mora in the position he's in right now. Just pull back a little bit. Play some teams that are equal to you.
There are teams just like you mentioned, the Air Force Academy, Texas State down here. They're winning with kids that probably they might go in the portal, but they're winning now.
Yeah.
You just got to find that right kid for your system, and hopefully you can keep them enough to develop them, keep them long enough.
Yeah, and look at these schools do need the money for their football programs too to keep them afloat. So there's a double-edged sword there. Yes, I agree with you, Mac. It's got to be tough to recruit when you're going out and getting beat by 50 or 60 points, but when you're getting
I agree.
Look what UMass got. I told you when they went to Penn State a couple of weeks ago, they got $1.5 million.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's going to help their football team too.
Yeah.
Now they can have more money for recruiting.
Yeah.
Other things.
But then it's tough to recruit, as Max said, because you're out there getting your ass kicked every week. So
agree. Michigan under a lot of scrutiny right now, Keith. They beat Purdue 41-15. Is there anything to this? I mean, we kind of said no big deal. Everybody does it. But the other teams are all up in arms, and they're asking, the head of the head of that league to do an investigation.
Well, again, I'd like to see. There's a lot of guys who are going on record because they don't want to get themselves investigated either. By the way, all these coaches that have said, 90% of them want there to be some sanctions put down here, but a lot of them are not given their name. It's all anonymous. Everybody does do this stuff. I think all this sign stealing stuff is all hyperbole, and they look at and by the way, they're looking for a way to take Jim Harbaugh down for whatever reason. He's a polarizing guy, and people don't want him to succeed, and that's what this is all about in my mind.
And plus, you mentioned that now they're saying that Brian Day, the lawyers that are contesting this, are a part of Ryan Day's family. They think, it's
possible. It's possible. Look at the NCAA at the end of the day is to blame for this particular controversy anyway, because if they just let them use the electronics, the helmets, we wouldn't have this problem. They're over there holding up pictures of giraffes and elephants and whatever.
You're right.
It's like Pop Warner for crying out.
Georgia and Alabama don't cheat?
I think they all cheat.
I know. I agree with you.
Yeah, but you got to cheat within the rules.
Well, yeah, and what you look at, everybody's sending guys to their opponents' games. They're all sending scouts to opponents.
But that's
games.
legal. That's legal.
Right. He was on the sideline, which supposedly wasn't legal because he dressed up as somebody on the staff of Purdue or whatever. Still, so you're taking a step too far.
Central Michigan, that he was on the sideline?
Yes, I believe it was Central Michigan, yeah. So again,
and McAvane is known for cheating. Everybody knows McAvane cheats.
Yeah, you think Michigan needs to cheat to beat Central Michigan? I really don't think so.
No, they were playing. I think they were playing.
Oh, that's right. That's right too. Michigan State or Purdue. I can't remember which.
Yeah, it's one of those.
But anyway, I don't think anything will happen during the season this year. I just don't think it will.
So Florida State, number 4, they beat Pitt 24-7. Again, in the beginning it was close, but they ended up pulling away as they do almost every week.
Yeah, it's not a very good Pitt team, and Florida State has been very consistent all year. Their quarterback is not getting the due that he should get, I don't think, either in the
Travis.
No, yeah, Travis. Travis, right? Jordan Travis. This is a good football team. I picked them in the beginning of the year to get to the playoff, and right now, probably Louisville's all that's standing in their way, I would say.
You notice something about Florida State. They're not a very bad weather team. They went to Pittsburgh, and that's where they struggle. They shouldn't have that issue. I don't know where they play Louisville at, but
I'm not sure either. But hopefully they won't have that issue. This is a good football team. I think all around, it's a very good football team.
Mm-hmm.
We got Washington, and for some reason, since Oregon, they have no defense. I don't know what happened to Washington's defense. They beat USC, but it's 52-42.
Well, I'll give them a pass for yesterday because they're playing USC, they're playing on the road. But you're right. Overall, they have not since they played Oregon. This was a big win just to get the win. It's not an easy place to go, as bad as USC's played.
That's an interesting.
The defense showed up late in the game, Washington's defense, when they absolutely had to, though.
Yeah, they did
Keith makes a good point because it's a bowl, and it gets extremely hot in that place.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it gets extreme. I played in there in college and in the NFL, and it's an unusual place to play. People don't realize that. And then even when the sun goes down, the grass gets a little bit moist in there, meaning that you lose traction.
All right. So there you go, Jim, with some experience sharing with us about that bowl there. We got number 6 Oregon. Speaking of Oregon, they rout Cal 63-19. That gave USC all they could handle.
Yeah, no surprise there. There some style points in this game for Oregon. Is they need to impress. There's a lot of people think Oregon ought to be ranked ahead of Washington, despite Washington beating them. I can't put Washington ahead of Oregon just because they haven't beat them. Now they're headed towards a rematch. It's getting very close to being a done deal for a rematch in the Pac-12 championship game. So that's the team that wins that is still in the playoff contention, obviously.
Yeah, because Big 12 shot themselves in the foot last.
Yeah, Big 12's in Big 12's in big trouble, I think, as far as getting a playoff spot. I think they really will.
Kansas State gave Texas all they could handle. Kansas State is a really good team. They may not be a top 4 team, but they're a very good team. But Texas beats them 33-28.
On an unusual thing, all he had to do was kick the field goal to go to overtime. He chose to try to win the game.
Yeah.
And that's what lost the game for him. They deflected the pass. But I thought that was interesting that he tried to go to win it, and he didn't feel good about going to overtime. Well, he was in overtime, excuse me.
Yeah.
They won it in overtime. All he had to do was kick it and tie it.
Yeah, again, they probably figured that, they hadn't really stopped Texas a lot all day, so probably your best shot at winning might have been right there. But Kansas State lost early to a couple ranked opponents, but they played really well since. This close loss hurts Texas, and Oklahoma losing again yesterday hurts Texas, because even if Texas goes with one loss and wins the Big 12, their schedules now the teams they beat are looking worse.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And Malik Murphy, the quarterback that's in for Ewers, didn't play well yesterday.
No, I think Ewers
they were killing. They were up 17-0.
Yeah, I think Ewers might be back next week.
Mm-hmm.
You have Alabama, their strong running game beats LSU 42-28. I don't think LSU will ever, under their head coach, ever be a top 14 team.
Well, their defense is atrocious, and they were in this game until halftime, and then Alabama turned it around. But Alabama is the story here. Everybody want to write off Alabama early in the year. Alabama controls their own destiny to get to the playoff here.
Exactly.
And they have a weak schedule. I mean, they have a clear path.
Yeah, they're locked to get to the SEC championship game now. I mean, they're not going to – if they only got to win one of the last 2 games they have in the SEC to get to the championship game, because Ole Miss they beat Ole Miss, who's a game behind them. So it's going to be Alabama and Georgia, and Alabama is going to have a chance to play Georgia. They've gotten better every week this year.
They have. Yes,
I should say every week since South Florida they've gotten better. But
you're right. But do they have enough to beat Georgia?
It's not your classic, great Alabama team. But it's not your classic great Georgia team either. So it's an interesting dynamic in this upcoming game.
Oklahoma State, probably in the last game that they're going to be playing against Oklahoma for a while. They come up with a big upset over Oklahoma, and I've been saying this all year. Oklahoma, Keith, is not really a top 10 team.
Yeah, it's funny. I did have Oklahoma as a dark horse getting into the playoff, but I did bet yesterday Oklahoma State and Mike Gundy at home getting 6.5 points. That's a good football team. Another team like Kansas State who's turned their season around the last month and a half and played really good football. And it's very sad, by the way, that this will be the last bedlam for God knows how long, because of
sad, isn't it?
A 100-year rivalry. I mean,
But there's a lot of teams that are having that. Washington State.
Oh yeah.
And, there's things like that.
This is the real downside of realignment to me, is these traditional rivalries going away in a lot of cases.
Oregon State is another one.
Yeah,
definitely. Ole Miss squeaks by Texas A&M 38-35 right now, ranked number 10. Ole Miss is a I don't know if they're a top 10 team or not, but they're a very good team too.
Yeah, I've got Ole Miss moving up to 9 myself in the playoff rankings this week, but they've got really no chance to get any higher probably than 5 or 6 at tops, because of that loss to Alabama and the fact that they won't be able to play in the SEC championship game unless Alabama loses 2 games, which they're not gonna.
I agree. Good morning, Carlos. Glad to have you aboard.
Good morning, Carlos.
What's a banner?
Clemson beats up on Notre Dame 31-23. The score is not as close as it's not a real score. Clemson really beat them up pretty bad. I told you that starting quarterback, Keith, I don't like him. I don't. He's not an athlete. I don't care if he's been playing college football for 10 years. I still don't like the guy.
I really thought Hartman would make a big difference for this Notre Dame team this year, and he just hasn't worked out. Clemson's secondary was in tatters yesterday, and they could really do nothing, really moving the football. They got scored 21 points, or 23 points, but still, they did not look in sync all day long. It's a really bad loss for Notre Dame. They probably lost a New Year's Day bowl game like themselves yesterday.
Chief, do you think the story of that game was Dabo Sweeney's outburst, the controversy, or Notre Dame just not being good?
I think probably a combination. I do think that the fired his team up a little bit. They felt like they wanted to back up their coach. And, that whole thing, I don't know if you listened to the whole radio interview, but he was really harsh on that kid. But I don't know why these coaches do these call-in shows. I really don't. But Dabo kind of gave it back to him. He's taken a lot of heat. This is the first adversity he's really had, at Clemson. I mean, the team hasn't been as good the last couple of years, but they've still been winning 10 games a year. Which is not bad.
Today it's what have you done for me lately?
Well, again, we talked about this. I think the same thing, Jim, Friday. Yes, it is. What have you done for me lately? And Dabo's only problem, he could turn this program right back around if he just, and again, I'm not a big fan of the transfer portal, but it's a fact of life. And he's got to embrace it, and he hasn't up until now.
NILs too. He doesn't embrace that either.
And that's a big problem. If you're not going to keep up with the Alabamas and the Georgias and the rest if you do not, make use of those tools.
Even Alabama's doing that.
Yeah,
they don't agree with. He doesn't like it, but that's just the reality.
Yeah, I think Dabo's got. It's here to stay.
You got to adjust.
Yeah.
So Keith, let's Army. As Rick brought up, Army did beat Air Force 23-3, the Commanders Cup. At risk there, and Air Force has had a good season so far. But when you're going to play Army, Air Force, Navy, anything can happen. I don't care what the records are.
It can. I really thought Air Force had a great chance of going undefeated, and maybe get a New Year's Day bowl game out of that. Out of that group of 5 pick. But this was a great effort by Army, who struggled this year. They've only had 2 wins going into this game, as they've changed their offense quite a bit. They throw the ball a lot more than they ever had before. And maybe it's starting to take effect. It's a good win because Air Force is a very good, consistent football team, and they kind of dismantled them yesterday. So,
Calhoun's a really good coach.
Calhoun's a good coach, and Jeff Monken's a really good coach at Army.
Really good coach.
This year, but he's a good coach.
Yes, definitely. One last one. The one I'm watching, Louisville takes apart a very good Virginia Tech team. They only got 1 loss, Keith. I don't think they'll get in there, but I'm kind of rooting for them.
Yeah, it's going to be hard for Louisville. They probably have the least chance of any of the 1-loss teams to get in there. But if they continue with 1 loss, get to the ACC championship game, take down Florida State undefeated, then you don't know.
Yeah, but they won losses against Florida State, correct?
No, the 1 loss against Pittsburgh, which is really hurt. That's what really hurts them. That really hurts them.
Good morning, Bo.
Keith, you nailed it early in the year. Early in the year with Colorado, when they got off to that great start with Deion Sanders, it wasn't going to last, and you basically, predicted it, and the games have played out that way. But yesterday, he did something so unorthodox. He benched his offensive coordinator during the game or replaced him more or less.
No. He did that earlier in the week.
Yeah, Pat Shurmur, he brought in.
Sherman.
Coach.
He did that earlier in the week.
That was early in the week. Okay.
It's a very weird move to bring in a NFL coach as your offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Can you imagine a coach making the offensive coordinator sit on the bench? That would be awesome. I would love that.
No, you gave him other responsibilities to work with the quarterback.
It's funny. It's funny in general with Colorado. Perspectives is amazing, right? Because before the year, if this team went 6-6, which they probably will, everybody would have said Deion did a great job. But he got off to such a fabulous start, and there was so much hoopla that now it's going to feel like a negative that they go 6-6.
And plus, he wasn't the only one. Arkansas did the same thing, and they won yesterday. Arkansas basically fired there. He didn't fire him, Sean Lewis.
No.
Arkansas fired their offensive coordinator and put another guy in there. And there was one more team that did the same thing.
So Jim's trying to stall Keith from making his picks. I know what his train of thought is. So Keith, let's get the Patriot news in here real quick, and then we'll get to your picks. The Patriots playing the Commanders, minus 2 of their big defensive linemen, which is the strength of the Washington Commanders. What do you think? Do you think, Keith, that maybe maybe Mac Jones gets a little bit of a little retrieve from getting sacked all the time?
Oh, I hope so. I think they need to get the running game going. The running game has not been, very good all year, and that's really hurt the Patriots as well. They got to replace now Kelvin Bourne, who's out for the year and been their best offensive contributor up until this point. But supposedly Butte had a great practice week this week, and Belichick was speaking very highly of him, which he doesn't normally do on Friday. So I like their chances to win this game. I think Washington's probably in a little bit of disarray with the trading of two of their best players on defense, and a lot of rumors going around about their coach. I think there's, I like the Patriots' chances today, and they'll be one of my picks today, actually. So
yeah, I think it might be one of my picks too, Keith. And I'm not surprised it's one of yours.
It's a tough card.
So let's talk about your picks this week. Yeah, it gets tougher as the season goes on. That's for sure. Again, well, I'm not going to Jim again. Keith, why don't you give us your picks?
See, I'm not the only one picking on you, Jim. Don't put the blame all on me. I mean, Matt's the one that started the anti-Jim prediction.
Keith is in New York.
Every
if we were in the same place, you'd be so nice to me.
Yes. If we're in the same studio, Jim, I can tell you right now.
To be honest with you, Jim, I would probably be a lot worse with you if we were live together. So just to let you know.
All right, my picks. I'm taking the Patriots -3. I'm not sure what you have. I have them -3. Jim won't like me very much. I'll take the Eagles. Till the Cowboys beat them, I'm all over the Eagles -3. I like the Bengals. I think they're 2.5. Not sure what you have them. Those are my favorites. Bengals over the Bills. And my dog will be, and I keep riding this team, and I'm going to keep riding them, the Seahawks. +6 against the Ravens.
Seattle +6.
You see, whether it happens or not, Keith is level-headed. He makes knowledgeable picks. So he doesn't pick based on emotion. That's all I'm going to say.
I try. Sometimes I fail with the Patriots in that regard, but
yes,
as Jim can attest to.
Jim gets a little emotional when he makes his picks. Keith is cool and calm. He's doing it for luck here. Jim's doing it on emotion.
Jack, let's do our picks first. In fact, since Jack is talking a lot of smack this morning, why don't we get your picks in here first?
Right, 2 of the 3 I have the same as Keith. 2 of the 3. I have the Patriots. I mean, Washington trades off their 2 best defensive players. They've obviously, I don't want to say given up on the season, but they're kind of in a rebuild now. And if the Patriots can't beat them by at least a field goal, or more, the season's over for New England. If New England loses, then the rebuild the rest of the year. Forget it. I like the Bengals. I think they're the best team in football. Their record doesn't reflect it right now, the way they've come on. And you mean to tell me a Buffalo Bill team who they owned at the end of last year, who hasn't improved this year, is going to beat the Bengals in Cincinnati? 2.5 points? Are you kidding me? Bengals win that. I tell you my third pick, you guys are going to fall off the chair. The LA Chargers to cover against the Jets. Okay? I mean, I picked all 7 Jet games correctly this year, not counting the spread. Just
never pick against your team. Never pick against your team.
I can't. I think it's going to be a long week for Zach Wilson next week, because I just feel he's going to be forced to do something to win the game, and the defense won't be enough. Chargers have a lot of upside, even though they haven't shown it. So I like the Chargers with the Jets. I hope I'm wrong on that one.
Jim, who do you got, Jim?
I got the Atlanta Falcons over Minnesota, and I'm sorry, Rick.
Okay,
Man.
Atlanta.
Rick is your friend, and you make that pick.
I just think Atlanta's going to cover, and I think Tyler Heineken is going to start, and I think Atlanta's -4. So that's my favorite. I think Washington is going to surprise you.
Ooh,
Washington. Well, I'm going to hold that. Because
they're an underdog, right? Jim.
They're underdog. I'm gonna hold that one.
Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah.
I think that New Orleans is going to beat Chicago pretty bad. I had New Orleans over Chicago because it's in New Orleans, and then I had Indianapolis over Carolina. That's my 3.
Nice.
Okay. Okay, I'll give you my three real quick. Keith, you want to take off? I know you got that show to do.
Yeah, I'm going to jump. I just want to make one last comment. I hope Danny DeVito gets in at quarterback for the Giants today.
Oh man, that was brutal.
Me too. Me too. I hope so too. I hope
Get him
so
out of
too.
the Jersey Mike's and get him out of the field.
Keith,
Yes.
you're the voice of reason. It was a pleasure being on the show with you.
Yes. So that's Rick's comment to Jim. Come on, man.
I know.
And
I'm sorry,
I'll give you
Rick.
I'll give you my picks real quick here. Let's see. I got a lot of picks that Jack and Keith have. I got Cincinnati -2, the Chargers -2.5, rather. The Chargers -3, New England -3.5. So that's my picks. We're running together at the top. I will never bet on Atlanta. I'll tell you that right now. I will never bet on
Jim,
that.
one of Jim's picks.
It's in Atlanta, and Minnesota is starting a rookie quarterback who was undrafted.
Jim's pick with the Saints is intriguing because I think they're 8-point favorites, and Jim doesn't like giving up that many points. But maybe New Orleans playing at home, maybe they're due for an extra big game.
I'll tell you what's in it. I didn't pick them, but Seattle and Baltimore, that's going to be a better game than people think.
Oh, I know that. Yeah,
Seattle's
underrated.
Yeah, and they just got Leonard Williams. Seattle is pretty good now, but they got to come across the country to play. Obviously, Baltimore and Lamar Jackson.
And you know what that music's for? You know what that music's for? Let's bring him in.
Yeah,
30 somewhere, guys.
There we go.
We should have some gospel music for Robert.
Robert Butler. Robert Butler with the big stories here from SportsScope. We have him on every week. And Robert, I know if you want to see Robert picks, I know he does his picks also on his show. We really don't have time Robert, give us your picks. What the heck? We haven't ever heard your picks on the show.
Well,
are you ready to give us your picks?
We do the 5 biggest games, me and Bad New Yorker on Friday. So that's what I've prepared for. I mean, it's so I like Miami coming up here in about an hour, guys. Yeah, over Kansas City.
8:30, 9:30.
Yeah, look, they got Jalen Ramsey and Xavier Howard playing together. So I had to go back to Friday if you want me to give like the other 4. Like Philly later on tonight. Like Philadelphia later on tonight, and you're right. That was one of my bigger picks, Jim. Atlanta's really good at home, and Minnesota is starting a undrafted free rookie quarterback. So I think Atlanta's going to win that game. Probably going away. And Baltimore, Lamar Jackson's 17-1 against NFC teams, and they're coming east short. I mean, Geno Smith against that defense. They lead the league in sacks, by the way.
Yeah,
Baltimore. So that's
yes, they do.
Yeah.
And all right.
I don't even know.
And Robert's still scrolling. Robert's just
scrolling. Yeah. It kind of caught me off guard with that one, man.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
You got to be ready for anything on the big football show.
Yeah, I hear you.
Robert.
Any kind of change up.
The Philly sports guy is in. Jamie Pags is in with us. Before I get on Robert with his big stories, Pags, why don't you give us your picks real quick, and we'll see what you
got. Texans. I like them over Tampa Bay. I like the Browns over the Cardinals. I like the Ravens over the Seahawks too. And my upset pick of the week, and I think they win outright, are the Chicago Bears.
Wow, you're going opposite Jim because New Orleans is one of his 3 favorites, and you're picking the Bears.
I'm picking the Bears.
All right, so Pags and Jim both stayed away from the Philadelphia-Dallas game. Very interesting. Robert, let's get to your big stories here. What are your the trade deadline has come and gone. Who's your big winners and losers from there?
Okay. The winners, I think San Francisco had another pass rusher there. for third round there in Chase Young. You know, Chase Young was second overall pick. Young had some injury problems, but I do think you adding him with Bosa, Randy Gregory, they got quite a bit of depth there at San Francisco, and the bye couldn't come in a perfect time. Seattle adding Leonard Williams. New York does pay $9 million of his cap money, but and you're right, Jim. You adding him with Jamal Adams there and Devin Witherspoon. Maybe they're trying to do a Legion of Boom 2.0 type of thing there in Seattle. And I also say New York, the Giants, they're a winner also because they get a second round pick for a player they gave up a third round pick for.
And a fifth, the second and a fifth.
Second and a fifth, so that's pretty good there. Losers, I say here in Tennessee. Yeah, man, I tell you, I've been telling people, Jamie, that the Titans are the Eagles' AAA team here lately. You know, we prepare your guys with Kevin Byard here, former All-Pro, never missed a game with Tennessee. And Tennessee takes on $13 million in dead cap money for Byard's contract for a fifth and a sixth round pick. And of course, I know they got a player. I also say Dallas. I think Dallas was sitting on their hands a little bit. You know, Patrick Surtain was out there, Jim. He could have taken over.
He didn't get traded.
Huh?
He didn't get traded. So.
And that's what I'm saying. I think
nobody from Denver got traded.
Yeah, I know. But they were taking calls on everybody.
Yeah, but here's the problem is cap room. Because you're going to still have to pay Parsons and you're still going to have to pay CeeDee Lamb. So you got to be careful.
Yeah,
and two young players that are obviously in your future. So I understand what he was saying.
Yeah. Aaron Donald, he was asking Dallas to take him. Last Sunday. And I think they could have made, you can make anything work. You want a guy bad enough. We got Derrick Henry down here. He's in the last year of his contract. Mm-hmm. He'd been linked to Dallas for a couple of weeks and Baltimore. Dallas.
Things are, you got to look at it. He didn't get traded in both of them. You know, I would love to have either one or Surtain, but you got to look at it from a long-term situation.
Yeah. Rob, let's say you're Dallas and you want Derrick Henry because Pollard's struggling a little this year. What would you have to give up as far as draft capital for Derrick Henry? He's not worth a number one draft pick. What could you have done?
And they don't have, I think they're, correct me if I'm wrong, Robert, they don't have a fourth round or fifth round draft pick, the Cowboys.
I don't know. Maybe Tennessee was asking for a third. None of that came out though. I read. I didn't read any of that came out, guys.
No, I would have gave up a second or a third for Surtain.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Would have sent him over there, man. Pay for the airplane ticket.
See, that's the difference. That's the difference between the Philadelphia Eagles and the rest of the league. The Philadelphia Eagles are very aggressive in signing one-year contracts, and that's why they keep reloading. Dallas does not do that. The Giants don't do that. Why? Well, the Commanders aren't going to do anything. But I'm just saying, this is why the Eagles are so good. They keep reloading, and nobody else in the East does that. And they make room, Jim. They make room. I don't know how they do it, but they do it. So very interesting. The Las Vegas Raiders.
Good capology.
Yes, I think so. He's a heck of a GM. The Las Vegas Raiders, I don't think Las Vegas wants them anymore. I don't think anybody wants them anymore. I feel so bad for the old Raider fans. I really do. And, they fire another coach. They get rid of a GM. They're paying ex-coaches millions and millions of dollars.
$85 million.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Robert, I mean, is this where maybe an owner should step away from a football team?
Yeah, they owe McDaniels $40 million. What I read from Adam Schefter. That's McDaniels alone for a year and a half. He was the coach there. You know, you got to think to yourself, you just wonder if maybe Mark Davis, he's the 29th richest owner, or air quote, poorest owner, one of the poorest owners in the league, and he owes all this money to former coaches and management staff there. Just got to wonder, maybe he should just keep a coach for 4 or 5 years just to show some kind of patience and stability. for future coaches and talent and free agents to show some kind of stability there. It's starting to look bad for Mark Davis, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does Tom Brady put in
Chicago
an offer maybe to try to buy this team?
Well, if he can afford it, you know.
I mean, I got to imagine he's got to have the people around him that also would help. He's not buying it by himself. But
well,
I mean, I tell you, I've been making jokes about this guy's hairdresser.
My God!
Since the beginning of the season. But I tell you, it starts there. You know, if you're going to look like an idiot and act like an idiot, everybody's going to look at you as an idiot, and that's what it is now. Now he's just proven the point.
There's a controversy also with Mark Davis that he's letting Brady buy in for too cheap an amount, that the other owners are unhappy, reportedly, that Brady should be forced to pay a lot more. But maybe Brady raises the profile of the franchise and the value goes up. So that's an intangible.
Yeah.
That's possible. That's possible.
Hey, I got $25 I'll throw in as well.
The Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears signed Sweat, or you could call him Sweet, whatever you want to call him. He's now a big part of the Bears defense going forward. Robert, a lot of people are kind of shaking their heads. Why are they signing Sweat on the Chicago Bears on that team? I know why Sweat did it. Why do you think Chicago did it?
Well, yeah, Ron Poles, he's had some big hits and he's had some big misses. Remember, this time last year, he traded for Chase Claypool, and the Steelers got Joey Porter with that pick. And Claypool's already been moved off for a 5th and a 6th round pick in 2025. Yeah. He's already been moved off to Miami for peanuts here. Sweat is 27 years old. He did have 6.5 sacks. They lead the league in cap room next year, over $100 million. You just have to wait and see. I'm not sure how Sweat's going to turn out. It depends on the new scheme. Is Eberflus even going to be the coach next year? Are they going to go offensive minded and take those first round picks and go out there and quarterback in the new scheme?
Well, you talk about defensive ends. Look at the Carolina Panthers. They were offered 2 number 1 draft choices for Brian Burns last year. The Rams offered it. They turned it down. They didn't trade him this year. And they're going to have to franchise tag him to keep him next year, which is going to make the player very unhappy. So you kind of wonder why Carolina, who's only had 1 win this year and obviously isn't going to make the playoffs, probably won't, why they didn't deal off Brian Burns for the best deal available.
Yeah, you know, David Tepper, he's lacking patience, that owner over there in Carolina. I'm sure the hair he's got left, he's pulling out, not making that move, Jack. He may fire now. He might be, you know, a little Jimmy Haslett, Mark Davis. He may move off of his head coach. I hope not, but you just never know about these guys. They say he's real aggressive, and he really pushed for that trade to go up and get the number 1 pick last year. So you don't know what he's going to do. He's fairly new to the league. He's only been an owner for about 5 years now.
He's very impatient, Robert. What do you think about the injuries, how they're going to affect the games coming up this week? You got a little injury update for us?
Injury updates? Are you talking about now? I know Murray's not going to play with Arizona. They're going to start a rookie there. That Cleveland Browns defense is going to be great in fantasy tonight.
And it's in Cleveland.
I agree.
In Cleveland, they're ticked off. They're trying to get the win. And it looks like Watson's going to be playing for them. So you're not really sure what percentage he's at.
12.5
you just got to hold your breath. Huh?
12.5 is a lot of points.
Yeah, it's a lot of points. Yeah. But, hey, they might not score any, Arizona. This could be a Baltimore versus Who they beat up on somebody earlier this season. I can't remember. I think it was Cleveland when they put that true rookie in a few weeks ago.
We shall see. The Titans wide receiver Traylon Banks.
Burks, yeah.
Bad injury. Oh, sorry, Burks. Very bad injury, but it seems there's good news for him, Robert.
Yeah, he's in concussion protocol. It was more precautionary than anything. But you know, concussion protocol, you gotta pass all the tests. You know, he's taken some rough falls. In his early career so far.
Yes, that is true. What do you think about the Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver Pickens taking down all the social media? Is this just another diva wide receiver upset because the other wide receiver had a better game? What's going on there?
Yeah, they keep winning these games, and he's mad because he didn't get the ball there. He's not following Tomlin and the Steelers on social media. You know, his numbers are way down. People are irritated around the country. I was watching a college game the other day, and somebody's it was like the Alabama game. They're hired Fire Mac Canada, and what? I mean, we're talking states over. They're hollering Fire Mac. He's the Steelers offensive coordinator in the Penguins. People are hollering out in the Penguins hockey game a few weeks ago. So, I mean, for a 5-3 team, there's a lot of frustration. I think people are thinking that maybe Kenny Pickett's a little bit more limited. But, hey, he's playing through injury. He got knocked out of the Jacksonville game, guys, and he didn't finish that game. Comes back on a short week and beats Tennessee. So, you got to give him A for effort. And Pittsburgh keeps winning. But I don't know if Matt Canada is going to survive next year or not.
Did it? Do you think it helped? You put him on the sideline. Do you think that helped out him calling the plays?
Yeah, but it's like, I got my eyes on you. That's Tomlin telling Matt Canada. So you screw this thing up, I'm going to be able to get a hold of you. So there was no real explanation for that. That was just kind of Matt Canada's going to be under the sideline with my.
Sometimes, especially with a young quarterback, it works. Because I remember when Troy was young, Norv Turner would come down to the side, and that helped him because he could calm him down. Right.
So, I mean, maybe that's what the school of thought of that is. Get a little eye to eye, not the phone. A friend of mine, guy came on the. He had some really good seats of the Titans game. They were playing the Colts one year, and she said that his friend was watching Peyton Manning, and it had the phone down. That phone kept ringing, for the OC to call him. Peyton wouldn't ever answer it. Get a little red phone, like what are they talking about?
When you're an established quarterback, we're not talking. Yeah, the school of thought could be an offensive coordinator doesn't know more than me. Like a Peyton Manning's going to think, I know more than any offensive coordinator. I know what has to be done. Someone like a Kenny Pickett or Will Levis, the second-year quarterback, rookie, they tend to listen. They're not going to speak back. Plays are sending for Patrick Mahomes. It might get to the point, maybe it's at that point now that Mahomes is thinking, I can call my own plays.
Yeah, that could be the reason for that. I just thought that was funny. Yeah, that is true. It's a case by case basis, right? As far as Kenny Pickett, Matt Canada, the Steelers will never hold Tomlin accountable. I mean, he's in charge of a lot of that stuff. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see. But hey, they're 5-3, So.
Well, let me chime in here with that about not having an offensive coordinator. Maybe Jim will agree with me or not. As a quarterback, as a teammate, you have your favorite teammates. You have certain players that you like more than others on the offense. And an offensive coordinator is there to help design your offense, not so much call the plays. They do send in plays where you can make adjustments on the field. But you do need an offensive coordinator there. If a quarterback, for instance, say Troy Aikman, the tight end is open, but Troy Aikman tries to force it into Michael Irvin when he's covered, that is something that I would worry about as a head coach. I think you need an offensive coordinator there, especially with younger quarterbacks, but even with veteran quarterbacks. I don't know what you think about that, Jim, but I think that's necessary.
To a certain extent, when you got guys like Peyton Manning, because he had Tom Moore, who was a tremendous coach, but Peyton called the plays. The Dan Marinos of the world, the Jim Kellys, they called their own plays, and they call what they see. What the offensive coordinator is, just like you said, giving them insight of what's happening on the field. Maybe they missed something, and maybe they got something they can attack. That's the thing with offensive coordinators. You need to work together with your quarterback and be on the same page.
I think, Jim, it comes down, and I think all of us would agree, if the quarterback can control the huddle, he's the boss, then he could call his own plays. Like a Ben Roethlisberger with Steelers. He's the boss of that huddle. He's not going to take anything from anyone. But a Kenny Pickett could get influenced, by a receiver, running back, this, that.
But he is a young player, too, and he's not established.
Yeah, but the point is, the quarterback has to be 100% in charge of that huddle. No ifs or buts about it.
I would agree with that. Robert, you got Keenan Allen ready to do 10. He's 70 yards away from 10,000 yards now. I mean, that's quite impressive.
Yeah. He is just behind Shannon Sharp. You got to look at how good a career guy like he's behind Eric Moulds at 995. I think he played with the Bills.
Yeah,
and Shannon Sharp as a tight end at 10,060 in a different era. That tells you how good of a player he was. He's already passed Wes Welker, more of a possession guy there. Keenan Allen, 31 years old. You've got 17 games in the season. Everything is – we'll see what happens. You still got Rice. Tells you how great Rice was. He's still at number one, well over 14,000 yards receiving there. But, that's a heck of a feat. Not sure if he'll get it against that Jets secondary, but we'll see. Be an interesting game tomorrow night.
It sure should. Your fantasy team, Robert, you've been pretty hot on your fantasy team.
They've all been winning here lately since you've been asking me that. That might be my good luck charm coming on here and talking about. I don't know. I got Lamar against the Seattle defense. They're 17th against quarterbacks. They're coming east and an early start time. Like I mentioned before, I got 17-1 against NFC teams. Think he's going to have a great day. DeAndre Swift got the Eagles running back there. I think they're going to lean on him a lot. 7,200 there. Kareem Hunt, Arizona's 30th against their 30th in run defense. He's with the Cleveland Browns. Zay Flowers, he's a receiver there for Baltimore. Terry McLaurin against New England. It's the Washington receiver there. And Adam Thielen, he's a favorite there of Bryce Young, going against the Colts secondary, which is a dismal. Dallas Goedert got another Eagle there, 5,800 to 24th against the tight end. But I also took Jake Ferguson as a flex. The Eagles are actually 26th against the tight end on the other side. And I got the Browns defense going against a rookie quarterback who's supposed to start today for Arizona. So they should have a field day in Cleveland. I'm sure they're ticked off for losing to Seattle last week, guys.
That was a very, very rough game for them to lose. Yes.
Yeah,
Robert,
gave it away, man.
Yeah, they did. They did. Thanks to Robert Butler. Find him on SportsScope on all medias, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. He's all over the place. So just look up SportsScope with a K, and you'll find Robert Butler. Thank you, Robert. Have a good one.
Thank you, Robert.
Have a good show, guys. See you.
There you go, folks. Robert Butler with SportsScope. I was surprised that the Philly sports guy, Jamie Pags, and Jim Jeffcoat stayed away from today's game with the Eagles versus the Cowboys. Listen, everybody says it's not a big game. It's only one game. But it's a division game. And so it is a big game for both teams here. Dallas going into Philadelphia. I know Pags will be there. cheering on his team. Pags, what's your thoughts on the game today?
I think it's going to come down to execution on either side of the ball. You know what I mean? It's like the talk is done. You know, now it's time to play. These are the number 1 and the number 2 team in the NFC right now, and it's time to put up or shut up. The good matchup about this is, I think, what Dak Prescott is 8-3 against the Eagles, and Jalen Hurts has never lost to the Cowboys. So that's going to be the matchup. Let's see how well his leg holds up. Obviously, he's got something going on with that knee or something. So I don't, he's going to play with it, obviously. So it's going to be good enough. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Obviously, this is going to be an interesting game to watch all the way around.
Well, I think Jalen Hurts attacks that secondary, the Cowboys secondary. In the beginning of the year, that was a strength, the cornerbacks with Diggs and Gilmore, but Diggs went out with the injury. Trevon Diggs and Stephon Gilmore now looks to be a little long in the tooth. So I think, Eagles unleashed their great receivers on the Cowboys. I think that's going to be a main part of the game plan, now running the ball.
Well, and I think on Dallas's side, I think that the one thing that Dak has always fell back on was his tight end. His tight end has always been a big part. I mean, they've run the ball, and Pollard has always had good days against the Eagles, but he's always gone to his tight end. His tight end has always had really big games against us. Now, I don't even know who their tight end is this year. They got rid of Schultz. This guy is not as good as Schultz even was. So it's going to be interesting to see how he performs today, because I think that they're going to lean on him, and he's going to, if he has a really good day, it could spell for a tough day for the Eagles.
First of all, I disagree from the standpoint that I think the problem the Cowboys have is Swift and Gainwell off tackle.
I agree.
Because people that have had success against them have run off tackle. If you look at the San Francisco game and if you look at the Arizona game, both of these teams were able to run off tackle. The next thing is Ferguson is better than the other tight end. He's more consistent on making plays. But the problem you have is you got to deal with Gainwell and Swift, but you also have to deal with Devontae Smith because A.J. Brown had such a great year. So you got there. And plus, the Cowboys are struggling going away from penalties. The penalties, just like they have to play a game where they have to limit the penalties. And can they do that? I'm not sure. If they haven't shown that yet on the road, can they stay away from those penalties? You got the issue with Tyron Smith is up in the air. His backup was injured last week. He's going to play. But can they protect him? I worry about Nolan Smith and Hassan playing and getting on that edge. They're going to give him, and then you have to have. They're going to take CeeDee Lamb out of the game. We all know that. But can Cooks help him? He hasn't shown that he can separate from anything. So it is going to be on Ferguson and Cooks to play well. And Pollard, he hasn't played. That offensive line and Pollard haven't played well this year. I mean, they beat teams they should have beat, but they have to play better today for them to be successful.
Yeah, but I think Pollard elevates his game a little bit for the Eagles.
So.
He gets that little bit of extra juice flowing for them. He seems to always have really good games against us, especially when they had Zeke. He would always be the change back, and he would always outrun
but they don't
Zeke.
have it. They got Rico McDowell, and that's what scares me. The offensive line hasn't played well this year, and they got a good offensive coach.
How much of a motivation will it be for just Micah Parsons? This is a homecoming game for him, really, in reality, coming back to Philadelphia. No one's going to be more psyched for this game than Micah Parsons.
But still, you got the same problem. They can take Micah out of the game. Who else is going to?
But can they really take Micah Parsons out of the game?
Yes, they can. San Francisco did it.
But this is a little different. He's coming home. He's not traveling to the West Coast, and he's he's going to be psyched to the hilt because he's going to have a lot of family and friends.
Psyched for that game. He was psyched. It's just who else is going to step up? Just the same thing. I like Bland. I like he's playing really well. But can Stephon Gilmore hold up against, if you're going to have, obviously, Devontae Smith on him? Can he play that? Can he hold up against them?
You know, I wouldn't be surprised if both game plans starting off with trying to establish the run game. I mean, listen, Dallas does have a good offensive line overall. The way I've seen the Eagles have problems is if you can establish that run against them in the beginning.
Exactly. And I don't know if they can.
Right. And it's the same thing with Philadelphia.
I mean, Aaron Donalds had 2 sacks in the first 3 plays last week. But, and they couldn't run the ball. They couldn't run the ball. In fact, CeeDee Lamb took over that game.
Yes, he did. And they'll put CeeDee Lamb in motion again. They'll try and get him matched up with the right type of person. I don't think you're going to have the Philadelphia Eagles defensive backs following him around because they got 2 decent defensive backs. I think it's going to be a really good game. I don't know how high scoring it's going to be, but I think it's going to be a really good game. And you know, I got to give the Eagles the edge at home. That's the only reason why I give them the edge. If they were
what is the impacts could answer this? What's the mood in Philadelphia? You know, is it as big an Eagle Cowboy game as usually? Are the fans psyched to the hilt? Or I could sense maybe it's mid-season. Eagles could actually afford to lose this game. It would tighten up the race. They'd be a half game ahead of the Cowboys. The Cowboys could then have a tiebreaker when they made up a half game. But they know they play the Cowboys again. What's the mood in Philadelphia with this game?
I think it's right now it's like a quiet confidence. I feel like that the Phillies hangover is going to ends today. That's really what I believe. I feel like that they have been looking for, like the Philadelphia fan has been looking for something to get really excited about. And this is the first thing to really occur to put it on that map. So I want to say that I think that as it gets closer to 425, you're going to see it really be a very loud crowd out here for this game, and it should energize the team some.
Was the Jet loss a wake-up call to the Eagles, a certain overconfidence they had against the Jets? They carrying any type of overconfidence in against the Cowboys? As hard as it is to believe, how can you be overconfident against the Cowboys? But do the Eagles feel they have the Cowboys' number when push comes to shove?
I don't think so. I think that the Jets game was something completely different. Like again, I think that they were also watching the Phillies, you know, and that's you know you can't sleep through any team, and that's what I think occurred there. I think that they, you know, went out that night and, you know, the night beforehand, and they all watched the Phillies game, and they got back late, and they thought they were just going to be able to.
Like Jeffcoat did back in the day when he partied before certain games.
Yeah, I heard that Jeffcoat was the guy who was always missing, you know, curfew.
Yeah, that was Jim. All right. Yeah, that was Jim. So what I've noticed too is the head coach of the Eagles, Nick Sirianni, has kind of toned it down a little bit from the beginning. You know, he was wearing the shirts and you know, the beat Cowboys and you know, saying how about them Cowboys. So he's calmed down the rhetoric or the pregame stuff a lot too. So he's saying.
But see, if you notice, Dallas has too. I think the 49ers was a wake up call for him. If you want to play against the best teams, keep your mouth shut and go play. And I think that really affected them because they thought they were going to go out there and really compete with the 49ers, and they didn't. So they're saying, wait a minute, we're going to have to compete, keep our mouths shut, and let's go play.
Well, but Jim, there was a little dispute with Dak Prescott and Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones said with the Eagles, don't wake up sleeping dogs, be quiet. And Dak Prescott said, no, wake them up. We want to compete. We'll take anyone on. So I like Dak's, you know, attitude.
Yeah, he's going to have to compete, but I don't know if he is the big part of it. Like I said, they're going to have to get their running game going. They're going to have to protect that, and they're going to have to get somebody other than CeeDee Lamb to make plays because they can take CeeDee Lamb out of it. They're not going to stop AJ Brown. They're not going to stop him. You're kidding yourself. But Devontae Smith is the key in the Swift, and like I said, Gainwell. They're the keys of the game. If they play well, and those two ends, they didn't play well against the ends from the Rams. They destroyed the Rams because they were better, but those two ends are going to give them some problems because they can't protect as well.
And that's where I think that's where I think that the biggest mismatch is going to be, because that means your tight ends are going to have to stay in the block, and that's the biggest release valve for Dak Prescott. Like, I feel like that when you go back and you look at previous games that Dak Prescott has been able to beat the Eagles, he's relied heavily on his tight ends. That they've had some bit of a running game, a little bit of a passing game, but it's always been the tight end that's beaten us. And Dallas has been very good at exploiting that. So now if you're having a problem with the offensive line and you need to keep your release valve in the block, you're going to have bigger problems. And I think that could spell for a little bit of a long day for Dallas.
And don't sleep on Philadelphia's tight end either. That's for sure, right?
No, yeah,
so,
I mean,
I think Dallas could have a pretty good game today.
Well, we'll see what happens.
I think both teams are right now. They're playing well, but you got to look at it. And you hate to say this, but this is a long season. Dallas has still got to go to Miami, and they still got to go to Buffalo, and Seattle comes to them.
Well, listen, both teams have a hard second half coming ahead of them. So
yeah,
I mean, that's why I say this game is a lot bigger maybe than people are.
Well, it is big. Don't get it wrong. But you also got to look at it from the long term. And you got to see, are you getting better or are you staying the same?
Guys, games early in the year, you could say it's a long season. They come back to haunt you. You think it doesn't bother the Cowboys losing to Arizona? That's Arizona's only win of the year. How important is that game now? And the Eagles losing to the Jets. Can you imagine each team could get that game back, put it in the win column, what it would mean? It would give them a little bit of a cushion.
Well, you have games like that. No matter how good you are, you're going to have games where you come out flat. You just got to get over them. The 49ers beat the Cowboys and haven't won a game since. I mean, you just
very true.
And those things happen. Now is how you adjust to them. The Cowboys looked at it and said, hey, we went out there, we opened our mouths and got our butts kicked. Now, how are we going to react? You notice how they're taking this in a more professional way than they did for that game. They know this is a business, and they know that they're going to have to play well.
All right, so let's get to the rest of the games that we haven't covered until our super fans come in, the Jetman and Commander Nash. So today, Miami versus Kansas City in Germany should be starting. Should be started just now. This should have kicked off
about 20 minutes.
20 minutes.
Okay, so we got Miami versus Kansas City. Kansas City is the home team in Germany. I don't know how they figured that out. Miami did get in early, and they had a chance to adjust. I think it's the team that's done it every time going to London has ended up winning that game. I like Miami, even though they're underdogs plus 2.5 guys. I don't know if you agree with me or not, but I think Miami makes a big statement against Kansas City today.
Well, I got to make a game time decision. Is Taylor Swift going to be at the game? That's worth 3 points for the Chiefs.
Yes.
No, she's out. No, she's been ruled out for today.
This is a super big game, more than people realize. I'm going to tell you why. They have the same record, both teams at 6-2. If the Dolphins win, the Chiefs have got to make up 2 games on Miami to have home field advantage if they meet in the playoffs. And imagine they're going to meet in the AFC Championship game. This game could conceivably determine home field advantage in the AFC Championship game, because the loser has to make up 2 games. And believe me, there's a big difference between the Dolphins going back to Kansas City as opposed to having that game at home if it comes down to it. I think the Dolphins win a relatively high-scoring game, something like 28-27. I just think they're, the Chiefs, something about the Chiefs this year, they've been a little flat. They've been winning basically, I don't know how to explain it. They had a champions mentality where they just show up and they've been winning, but they haven't been particularly impressive. And that loss to Denver, I wonder, was it a fluke? I said last week I was worried about that game, even though I picked the Chiefs. And look what happened. They lose to the Denver Broncos.
But you also got to realize Mahomes was IV. He was really sick. And he was really sick. Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL. Don't fool yourself. And he's going to be, after this happened, it happened to teams like Dallas, it happened to Philadelphia. Once they come off a loss like that, they're going to come to play. Trust me. And I don't think Miami's going to beat them. I know I picked Miami to win the AFC East, but also Miami struggles against teams that have winning records. And this team is the best team they'll face.
What do you think, Bags?
I kind of agree. I like, the fact that they made it over there early and this is in Germany does make me think a little bit about that, because it's in Germany and it's not the Kansas City, stadium where it's very loud. It's going to be loud in there for both teams. So I think that that's going to play a little bit to Miami's side. I agree. I think that Patrick Mahomes is, one of the best quarterbacks, if arguably the best quarterback in the league. And I think that ultimately it's going to be a shootout. And when he said high scoring and said 28-27, that's not what I was thinking. I was thinking more 38-37. And I think that this is going to be one of those games that whoever has the ball last is going to win the game. And, I guess I would hedge Miami with the points. That's what I would do. With the 2.5 points. That's the call I'll make there, and the over.
Well, speaking of that, before we go any further, this producer has reminded me.
When criminals in this world appear and break the laws that they should fear and frighten all who see or hear, the cry goes up both far and near for underdog, underdog.
That's right. We haven't given our underdog picks for today. Thanks to Pags for reminding me, and of course for Linda for throwing something at me. So the underdog picks for today, I am going to go with Miami as my underdog pick with the plus 2.5. I think they'll win outright. Jack, who do you got?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Giants, actually. I mean, what are they, like 1.5 underdogs or so against the Raiders? And the Raiders, I mean, Antonio Pierce taking over. There's no strategy, a linebacker coach who probably hasn't studied the, Raider offense at all. It's like dysfunctional over there. They're going to show up. They're going to be motivated, the Raiders. But I think motivated but disorganized. And the Giants have got to win some games before the year's over. And with Daniel Jones coming back, I think they get it done. If Daniel Jones has to leave the game, the Giants are cooked. I'm assuming Daniel Jones plays the whole game. He'll play a decent game. The Giants have a very good defense. People overlook that. And I think they show up again today and they win.
Jim, who do you got for your underdog?
I like Tampa Bay over the Texans. Their top running back at the Texans is Al Pierce. And I just think Tampa Bay, this is a must-win. They're 3-4. If they have any chance of getting to the playoffs, they got to win this game. And then if they don't, Todd Bowles better start worrying about his job.
I think that's a good pick, Jim, actually. I do think, yeah. Tampa Bay absolutely needs this game. Right. And they've been playing good football on balance, even though they're only 3-4.
They should have won Buffalo, if you think about it.
Yeah. Well, you should be encouraged that Jack gave you his okay on your pick there, Jim. So
I signed off on that pick. That's decent.
Wow, I'm so happy.
Jim is, when it comes to predictions, Jim is in a rebuilding
mode. The only reason he gave me that is because his daughter got on him about it.
Yeah, no, that's my wife.
That's your wife?
That was his wife.
Yeah.
His wife got on him.
Audrey.
There you go. Audrey, your wife.
I told her we tried to help you, Jim. You don't listen. We had brought in Byron Williams as an advisor, and you didn't. And Byron says you disregarded him.
Oh, Anyway, yeah, and of course the producer Linda yells at me when I get on Jim too. So
That's
I mean,
right.
all the women like Jim.
But my
Yeah,
girlfriend
yeah.
yells at me when I get on Jack. So
Well, yeah. Well, she knows how
There you go.
stubborn you are, Jim, so she understands. Yeah.
Okay. So Minnesota at Atlanta. Jim loves picking a couple teams that always messing up, and Atlanta is one of those teams. So he doesn't have no faith in Minnesota. Listen, I
It's-
think Minnesota.
it's
pulls
not
it off.
about faith.
I think-
It's just about reality.
think-
They're starting to
I think-
undrafted.
You're wrong, Mac. Last week when Jim went 1-3, he picked Minnesota. That was his one winner.
Yeah, you're
I
right.
recall.
But
He
I'm
does have
talking
some
about
faith in the Vikings.
Atlanta. I think Atlanta last 3 weeks have been losers for Jim, and Jim just
Yeah,
refuses
but
to
they're
give
good
up
at
on
home. They're good at
I
home.
think. Listen, I think Josh Dobson plays well enough to beat Atlanta. That's my opinion. But anyway,
He's not playing. They're playing an
not playing?
undrafted rookie.
No,
They're playing an undrafted rookie for
I didn't know
Minnesota.
By the way,
I didn't
kudos
know
to Pags. Mac, we haven't publicly given Pags credit for that Bajent with the quarterback of the Bears. Pags said before the draft he felt he was the best quarterback coming out. That remains to be seen by a long shot. But
I didn't say he was the best quarterback coming out, but I did think that he was a good quarterback and that he would make it on a team.
And no one
And
drafted him, but Pags saw something that none of the scouts could see. So kudos to Pags.
And
And
I think it's the big upset today. I think it's a
He's a-
monster
listen.
upset today.
listen, Pags. I don't know why Jack's being nice to you after throwing you under the bus every Sunday you've been on.
I feel
And all
bad
this-
over the Phillies. We
and-
all feel bad.
And,
Jack's
and all of
got
a
to go
sudden
with
now
some winner. He's
I
a Jets
guess.
fan. He needs a winner.
yes.
Hey, did
that's
you see
true.
the
I'm picking
17 people
against
that
the
were out
Jets
there
this week.
celebrating the Texas Rangers winning? There was like what,
No, it was-
17,
it was
18
quite a
people?
bit. The Rangers.
Yeah,
had
they
quite
said
a
there
bit
was
of
they said there was 500,000. I'm telling you, that looked more like
Trust me,
250.
when you look at it, there were a lot.
It was
What?
like
Hey,
250.
what if the Rangers would have? Oh, we will never know that. They won.
All right. If we keep talking about baseball here, I'm kicking you both out. So, anyways, the NFL big show, folks, the big football show. Seattle +5 at Baltimore. I think Pags, did you pick Seattle here, or was it Keith that picked them as their underdog pick? Listen, I think
Seattle,
I
I did not.
He picked him as an underdog.
think Baltimore. I think Baltimore. I think
I didn't
Baltimore.
pick him
beats-
as an underdog.
No, Keith.
Oh, Keith.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
Seattle will cover. Baltimore's going to win the game, a real tight game, like something like a 21-20 game. I think Baltimore wins, but Seattle covers. Seattle's a very underrated team, and Baltimore's in a bit of an upswing. Jim Harbaugh is never given credit. John Harbaugh, excuse me, John. He's never given credit as one of the better coaches in the NFL. He's been around a long time, and he's kept that program in a winning mode year after year after year. Yet even though he's won one Super Bowl, he's never really been given the credit as one of the better coaches in the NFL.
He's won 2, hasn't he?
No, one Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Sure.
No, the one that took place a lot of years before during
He
the
beat
Ray
his
Lewis
brother. He
time.
beat Jim
He
Harbaugh
wasn't a coach
when he
then.
beat San Francisco.
Yeah, he beat his brother in that. Yeah, in that
Got
Super
ya.
Bowl.
Yeah.
then.
Yeah, that was a different coach. What do you think, Jim? I think Baltimore wins this game.
I like
don't-
Baltimore
at least-
after the facts that 17-1 against NFC teams. I don't think it's going to be easy. I think Baltimore will cover, but Seattle's getting better. Seattle, even without Geno Smith playing really well, but Seattle's got 3 receivers that can play with anybody. I mean, they got, as long as the one receiver doesn't take cheap shots at somebody.
Yeah, Metcalf can be a
Metcalf,
juice
yeah.
sometimes.
Did you realize
What do you
that
think,
AJ
Pat?
played on the same team at Mississippi?
Yep.
Yeah.
I sure do. 2 big receivers. What do you think, Pags? Baltimore, Seattle getting 5.5.
Yeah, coming across the country to Baltimore. I mean, it's only Baltimore, but it's. I think that they're playing pretty well right now. They want to be able to hold serve. I think Seattle loses here today.
Me too. I think by the spread too. Arizona at Cleveland. Kyle Murray is not playing again. I don't listen. I don't think they're going to play him. I think they're going to try and find a way to get rid of him. Maybe you play him in the last couple of games to kind of showcase him. Cleveland, they got Deshaun Watson playing. The most highest paid cheerleader is actually getting in the game. We'll see what he does. We'll see what he does against Arizona.
Mac. Deshaun Watson is going to reestablish himself as one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Don't sell him short. He's been injured coming off a year in which he had to basically sit out with the.
I think you should file that take along with Russell Wilson. Those are the same take. Just so that you know.
No, it's not. A couple of weeks ago, as I recall, Mac was venting a little about Lamar Jackson, and I was saying Lamar Jackson's going to be fine. He's going to get used to the new offense, and he's going to reestablish himself as an elite quarterback, and he has. Deshaun Watson by the end of the year.
I tell you, he can't get loose. He can't get loose. That's his problem. He needs to be able to get them massages, and if he can't get those massages,
he's been hurt. He really does need a massage on his hurt shoulder, but that's besides the point. But if he's healthy, Deshaun Watson, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL.
I keep hearing that. I hear that every week. I've heard that all last year. I think he's ruined. I really do. Even when he plays and he's healthy, he doesn't look that good. They should be able to beat Arizona, though, just with the defense alone. Don't you think so, Jim?
12.5 is a lot to give them. But I still think they'll beat them, but that's a lot of points.
I think they could cover those points because Arizona's offense isn't likely
Who's
to
the quarterback for
Kyler Murray. Guys, Kyler Murray, they can play him, but they don't want to play him. What's the deal there?
They got a lot more issues in Arizona with the ownership. You talk about the ownership at Vegas. That's a bad. Bidwell is doing a terrible. I don't know what his deal is.
I don't think Mark Davis is a bad guy. I think he's just made some bad decisions. I don't think he's necessarily a meddler.
I think Mark Davis is an idiot. He doesn't know how to. He doesn't know what to do with the team. He doesn't know what to do with the team.
Well, his big mistake, Mark Davis, was he didn't keep Rick Bisaccia, his interim coach, who led the team to the playoffs. And the players loved him. The players loved him, and they were successful. How many businesses have parents built up from scratch and given it over to their kids, and the kids have ruined the business? Thousands, all kinds of businesses. He doesn't. It's sort of like Steinbrenner. He don't know how to run the organization like his dad did. That's all there is to it. Just doesn't.
But there are some success stories.
I thought we weren't talking baseball. Aaron, you bring up the Yankees.
Thank you for keeping me in check.
Clark Hunt,
appreciate that.
Clark Hunt was the second generation because Lamar Hunt originally owned that team. So
I'm just saying, Jim. There's a lot of examples of.
Well, maybe you want to know something. A lot of times, it's the father's responsibility to groom the son. Case in point, Robert Kraft, I'm sure, has groomed Jonathan Kraft. Jerry Jones has groomed Stephen Jones. They know what to do. If they have to take over.
Maybe so. But anyway.
Hey, listen, guys, I got to get rolling here because I've got lots to do today. So.
I know that makeup takes a long time to put on.
I've already been getting texts. Why aren't you out in the parking lot yet? So I'm going to have to.
Final prediction, Pags, on the Eagle Cowboy game. Final point prediction before you go.
I actually have them winning it today. It's going to be like when they said it's 46.5 points. That makes me think this is going to be an under. I got the Eagles winning it like 23-17.
All right.
Sounds like an overtime game.
It could be an overtime game. I think it's going to be really tight. I think that there's not going to be a lot of points in this game, and I think that it's going to depend a lot on the trenches here. Who's going to win the 3 yards beyond the ball, or around the ball? And that's going to be the biggest telltale. We could say that it's going to be the receivers, the tight ends, all that stuff. It's going to be the offensive line versus the defensive line. and whoever's winning that battle is going to win the game.
As in everything. As in
And
everything.
I got a question for Jeff Coates.
Have a good one, Pags. We'll see.
Take care.
We'll
All
see
right.
you. I'll see you tomorrow, Pags. As Jack continues to interrupt me while I'm trying to let you know.
Take care,
All right,
guys. And go Birds.
But I really do have a great question for Jeff Coates.
Yes.
A great question. Make believe, Jim, you were in your prime as a player again today, and you're playing today. You know the Eagles tush push. What can you do about it? They're coming right at you with the tush push. How can you stop them?
I don't know if you can stop it because they haven't been stopped on it yet.
No.
I think what you got to be concerned on is what happened in the Texas game last night or yesterday. Is they did the tush push and pitched it out. It was like a fumblerooski. And they can also, and if you remember against Washington, what did Philadelphia do? They lined up for a tush push and then pitched it and got a touchdown. I think that it's expanding, and that's the nervous thing you got. So
yeah, so now we have design plays off that. Pretty soon we'll run double reverses and we'll be running pass plays off of it.
You laugh, but
it
could happen.
I'm not laughing, Jim. I'm just saying that's another thing that will happen there. Good morning to Commander Nash. Glad to have you on. How you doing?
One of my favorite people. You're muted.
Yeah, well, he's
there we go. Good morning.
He's speechless after losing two of his best defensive players. Going to go up against the Patriots. Commander Nash, again, you played the Eagles tough as you always do. But I guess they're going to unload the assets with the Commanders, and that's it for the season. So what do you look at going against the Patriots minus Sweat and minus Young?
I think we're going to do good. I think everybody knows we came from Boston. We were the Boston Braves, so this is like a homecoming. We're the original team from New England, so we're going back home. I'm still optimistic. We still the guys that took the place of Sweat and Chase are 2 7th-round draft picks. They're really good. We still got a bottom, so I think we show up, and I think we go New England. We get a road win.
Commander, do you think they did that because they paid the 2 inside guys so much money?
Absolutely. Like I said last week, if I had to pick, I knew Montez Sweat value was higher, so I figured he would leave first, which he did. But I did not see the Chase Young in the same day. But we paid Jonathan Allen and Payne long-term contracts. We can't afford to keep 4 first-round draft picks on the D-line.
And they
so I
said
think
Young
we're going to build around them.
Young wasn't running the defense. He was running his own thing.
Yes, a lot of the several people from the organization said he was basically just pursuing the quarterback, not staying home, staying in his gap. So, I mean, if you're not disciplined, you got to go.
Commander Nash, I have one of the best sports historians on this show, Jack Hirsch. I mean, he has things in his mind that aren't computers. And you struck me by saying that the Boston Braves were the first team or one of the original teams, are you saying, in the NFL? Is that what you were saying?
We were the Boston Braves in 1930. We came from Boston, so we were in Boston way before the Patriots came out.
Jack didn't know that.
No one cared about the NFL in 1930. The NFL didn't come of age until 1958.
You got to have history, too.
You got me on that one. Commander Nash, you got me on that one.
Lifetime we're 6-5 against the Patriots. Lifetime we're 6-5 against New England.
The reason you have a little bit of a bond with Jim here is his son played for your team. So he has a little bit of a soft.
You played for Washington?
Washington, right?
No, I played for
New England.
Not you, your son, right?
Oh, yeah, my son played for Washington.
Your son played for Washington, and you told us the story of Daniel Snyder with the beach chair sitting and watching practice.
Yeah. Bruce Allen and him out there with beach chairs.
So before we bring the Jet Man up, who's backstage and looking sharp, I might add. So when the Patriots listen, you think you're gonna get as much pressure on Mac Jones without Sweat and Young, you're out of your mind, Commander Nash. That's not going to happen. Those two guys are unbelievable.
No, it's not.
Pass. What does this do affecting you? I mean, your quarterback played good against the Eagles. Can he repeat that against the Patriots? The Patriots have a pretty good defense, if nothing else. So do you feel good with that, your quarterback going forward and without having that pass rush?
Absolutely. I think Sam Howell, like you said, he went up against Philadelphia. They went to the Super Bowl. He's played both Philadelphia games good. I think he'll go to New England and continue his success. I think they're moving the offensive linemen around more, trying to find a good, solid foundation. We haven't beaten New England in 20 years. We haven't beaten them since 2003. Today we get the win. We're going to snap that.
I didn't know that. Okay. I'm glad you told me that. I got to change some of my.
He's adjusting his picks, folks. We've been waiting for we've been waiting for the Jetman, and the Jetman I think has improved. I mean, I remember when he used to come on with the license plate, and he used to have, he had those tights. He has upgraded his professional look since he's been on the show. I think we've had a part in that. And he had the fur coat. He's got a snappy hat now he wears. Let's bring him up and let's talk to Jetman about that exciting game last Sunday against the Giants.
Morning, gentlemen.
Oh,
good morning.
Look at that.
How are you guys?
Yeah, he's got a fedora on. I mean, he's looking good right now. And I know the Jetman wants to sit here and brag about that win against the Giants. What do you think there, Jetman?
Wow, that was something, huh? I mean, it was like the Buffalo game all over again for the Giants. They could be 4-4 right now. Yeah, pretty crazy stuff. I mean, the Jets got out of there with a win. They really didn't deserve it, but it was a defensive battle in the muck.
It was in the muck. I didn't see the rain in the mud there, Jack. But anyway, so go ahead, Jack.
No, there's a little bit of rain. I wouldn't call it muck. The conditions weren't that great. There were a lot of questionable calls by the coaches as well as penalties. One of them with the Giants, they had 4th and 1, and they tried a 47-yard field goal under those conditions, and they had to know that kicker Gano was hurt at the time. We didn't know it, and I kind of wondered why they didn't go for it, in that situation. And it's so many questionable calls, and even in overtime, this was the first overtime game when the Jets lost the coin toss. I was happy the Giants took the ball, because if the Jets won the coin flip, I wouldn't have wanted the ball. I would, at that point, the offenses could do virtually nothing. So I would have gladly had the Giants take the ball, which they did, stop them, and then you get in field goal range. In the Jet kicking game, their punting was real good, and the Giants kicking game wasn't nearly as good, and that was a difference maker. But you're right, the Jets didn't deserve to win the game.
It came down to Thibodeau's penalty.
Yeah, but Thibodeau I'm going to give him his due. I've been a critic. I give him a pass on that crucial penalty at the end that he committed. He was the best play on the field, Thibodeau, as far as I'm concerned, last Sunday.
I mean, and the Jets had some terrible, terrible penalties also. Clemens, 4th and 5, the 5-yard penalty. And I don't know, there were plays like reminded me when last year when what's his name jumped over the line against I think it was Detroit.
Yeah, but here's the thing: if the Cowboys play terrible and win today, I'm going to be happy. I'm not going to sit there and lie to you. You guys better be happy with wins. You better be happy because you can improve.
It was the most pathetic game I ever saw in all my years of watching football.
I've seen a lot of pathetic games.
Would you have been happy?
They're not going to talk about.
Absolutely not. No. You're right, Jim. You're absolutely right. But
all right,
the problem.
Take the win. Take the win, Jetman, and put it in your pocket. and enjoy it. Chargers are coming.
I agree.
That is the
I'm
question.
good.
Now with the Chargers, it's not going to be as easy as it was with the Giants yet, man. You're gonna have a very good offense, a defense that's improving, and an offense that can put up a lot of points. Your defense better play its butt off this week.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one thing that's really bothersome is that we still don't have a quarterback, and we went through the trade deadline. We still didn't get a quarterback.
He's getting
The problem
down.
is not.
You couldn't have gotten a quarterback. What were you going to give up? What would you have given up to get a quarterback? What would you have given up?
All three of my quarterbacks. I would release all
If
three
you don't
of my
want him, if
quarterbacks.
you don't want him, another team's not going to want him. What would you give up, and who would you want? Who are you going to get? Would you have called the Vikings and offered a first-round draft choice for Kirk Cousins when he was available? Would you have offered your number one? That's
Yes.
the only way they would have
Yes.
listened.
Yes.
You would have done it, and at the end of the year, his contract is up, and you have Aaron Rodgers there. And what does that say for the morale of the team as far as Aaron Rodgers coming back this year? Imagine you got Kirk Cousins. Now you're telling Aaron Rodgers, we don't need you to come back this year. Or if you do, Kirk Cousins is now going to sit for you. It makes no sense.
It makes all the sense. I totally disagree. Totally disagree. These are grown men. They're not children. They're not 8-year-olds that you have to say, oh, I mean, if they bring in Kirk Cousins before he gets hurt and then Aaron Rodgers is healthy, you start Aaron Rodgers. It's not that. What's the
So
debate?
you would have given up a number one draft choice.
Yes,
Kirk
we are
Cousins
built
short-term.
for the Super Bowl this year. And we have, out of 99 quarterbacks in the league, we have the worst right now. We have the worst.
I'm going to tell you a
We
stat,
should
man.
have flattened the Giants last week.
Yeah,
We should have destroyed them.
Could
We
I tell you
barely
a
got
stat?
out of there with a win.
Let me just tell you a stat. It might be meaningless, but it is a stat. Zach Wilson had, of all the quarterbacks in the NFL this year, has waged the most fourth quarter comebacks that resulted in victories. You know,
Zach
that's
Wilson
a fact.
or the New York Jets have.
Well, no, you're right on that point, but he's been there.
All right, here we go.
I just want to make a quick
wanna-
break. Real
Go
quick.
ahead.
Kansas City's already up 7-0.
Thank you. Jetman, we're talking about the Chargers, not last week, not about Kirk Cousins, not about your quarterback thing. I want to know what your thoughts are against the Chargers. That's what I asked you.
I mean, I think it's going to be similar to the Giant game. You know, our defense is stacked. So I'm not concerned about the Chargers offense. I'm concerned about my offense. Can we move the ball?
You are not concerned about one of the better quarterbacks in the league, one of the better wide receivers group in the league, one of the better running backs in the league that have played teams. I don't know why you wouldn't be worried about that. I know you got a good defense. I'm not saying you don't.
I'll tell you.
You're talking
Mac,
about one of the better offenses in the league.
The Philadelphia Eagles are the best team in football. They have one loss. Who did they lose to?
Miami.
That's the Jet man. That happens all the time, Jet man.
And they lost. They had 4 turnovers to the Jets, none, and we barely beat them. Why? Because we don't have an offense without a good quarterback. Because Zach Wilson does everything he can to lose games, and the defense prevents him.
Who would you have wanted before the trading deadline? Kirk Cousins got injured, so he was out. Who would you have traded for, and what would you have?
We've already gone through this.
What would you have?
I don't want to talk about that again. I don't want. We're talking about the games. I don't want to talk.
I don't know if you guys remember. I was on for the draft last year, and when the Jets in the second round were up, Levis was on the board, and they could have taken him. And I was watching him the other night, biting my lip, going, "My God, we could have this guy. He's starting now for the Titans."
Yep.
I mean,
all right.
We make the worst moves ever at quarterback. Worst moves ever. We finally get a good quarterback. We don't back him up. We could have gotten Teddy Bridgewater. We could have signed Minshew. There were dozens of quarterbacks available in the offseason.
Who's going to win the game?
That's what I want to hear.
Somehow, some way.
You got an answer?
I mean, but going back, you said
Okay,
Zach
you're picking
Wilson.
the Jets. You're picking the Jets to win with Zach Wilson. You're
am.
saying you're picking him to beat the Chargers.
All right. So
I'm
that's
not. I'm
that's
picking
what I
the
wanna go.
Chargers to beat the Jets. Next week at this time, you'll have a lot of ammunition to throw on me because I have a feeling Zach Wilson isn't going to have a good game. They're going to shake up the game plan. He's going to pass a lot more chances against the Chargers they're taking this week. They're going to open things up. It's either Zach Wilson's going to have a very good game or he's not. I mean,
Jim,
not
how many
optimistic
times,
this week.
Jim? How many times in a row every week have we heard Zach Wilson's going to open it up this week and they end up running the ball?
We've heard it all
That's
season.
what the Jets do, and that's
He opened it up at
So,
the
guys,
last
You
week.
guys
So,
are
guys,
on the same
Came
team.
back against the
It's
Giants.
just like the Jets. You're fighting each other. Me,
Well, that's what. Listen,
over
that's
here,
what
we're
happened.
talking about football. You're talking about
Let me-
this quarterback.
yes.
You don't have any control over that.
Can I quickly share 2 stats with you guys? Out of all the starting quarterbacks in the NFL, Zach Wilson has the 3rd worst QB rating and the 2nd worst completion percentage of all the quarterbacks. Daniel Jones is
There you
the worst is QB rating, just so you know. But I think he's going to have a good game today.
Well,
I think the
let me
Giants-
ask
thank you for your
this, man. Just
Thank you for
quickly,
your
what do you
support.
think
No,
of-
we're going to go. No, not quickly, Jack. No, we're going over the rest of the games, Jack. All right. So we need you guys picks here too because we don't want to talk about the Jets anymore. Okay. So anyway, so let's get to we got the Rams at Green Bay. Green Bay having a little rough season here with Jordan Love being very inconsistent. It doesn't look like, and I was asking Robert, hopefully you get to this, that the quarterback for the Rams is
Stafford.
playing this week. The starting quarterback. I don't think he's playing. So Green Bay wins at home. What do you think, Jim?
I think Green Bay wins. They're a -3. I think they win at home. I think Love is going to do just enough to get them to win.
All
Yeah, I
What do you
agree
think,
with
Commander
Jim.
Nash? You think Green Bay wins this?
With Stafford not playing, absolutely. Green Bay at home. I think Green Bay gets a win.
Okay, Jetman?
Yeah, I think we'll go unanimous.
No, we won't. I'm taking the Rams. Since y'all took Green Bay. Bucks at Houston. We've talked about this a little bit. Houston doesn't have their best running back. It's at Houston. I like Houston's defense. I like the young quarterback. I think they beat the Bucks. Jack, what do you got?
I like the Bucks by a field goal. I mean, Houston's in a rebuilding year. They can afford to lose these games. They're in the developmental stage. Bucks need
that's what every player likes to hear. What do you think, Jim?
Well, the Texans lost to the Carolina Panthers last week, and I just think the Bucks are a better team. I don't know why they got a -3 or the Texans are favored, but I'm going to go with the Bucks too.
What do you think, Commander Nash? Who you got?
Well, the Texans did have a few games. They played Pittsburgh good, but like you said, they're missing a few key pieces. I think Tampa Bay does have more talent, like Jim said, on offense and defense. I think they go in Houston and get the win.
Jetman, you going to go with me? You think Houston beats the Bucks, or you going to go with the rest?
I think Mike Evans and Godwin have big games. I think Tampa wins.
Okay. Washington, New England should be interesting. Of course, Commander Nash is going to pick Washington. Of course, Keith Angle came in earlier, takes the Patriots. I like the Patriots. I think Jack. Would you pick Jack? Did you take the Pats too? Or you
I
taking,
took the Pats as one of my
Washington?
picks. I think they, in all due respect to Commander Nash, I think New England wins big today. Their offense breaks out, has a really big game. Mac Jones, big game. And when you trade off your 2 best defensive players, basically that's a message to the whole team that you're not
Absolutely
committed to, winning this year, that you're in the rebuild.
I agree with that. Absolutely.
Jim?
I
Jim,
think
you
we're going
think,
to be surprised. I'm going to go with the Commanders. I think their 2 best players were those inside guys anyway. And I like Jason Sweat. And they're going to have to get pressure from the edge. But I think the Commanders are going to finally win one. How many years was it, Commander Nash?
We haven't beaten New England since 2003. Patrick Ramsey was the quarterback.
I think they're going to break that.
I think before that they didn't win a game since they were the Boston Braves. What do you think, Jet Man?
I love that one. I love that one.
What do you think, Jet Man? What do you like?
I don't like them, but I think the Patriots, unfortunately, are going to prevail and keep that streak going. And I didn't realize that someone was more futile against the Patriots than the Jets, who have lost, 17 in a row? But yeah, I think the Patriots, Stevenson, I think they win today. I hope not. I hope I'm wrong.
Washington is really good offensively.
They do have a good offensive team, and the Patriots are their best attribute.
Yeah, Howell has looked good. I mean,
yeah.
Against the Eagles, he always looks good. I don't understand. The Chicago Bears are getting 7.5 going against New Orleans. Pags loves that new quarterback, the Division II. I think his name is Badgett, coming in and starting for some reason. I know the reason. It's because his father. He knows his father personally. He was an arm wrestler. But he likes him a lot. He thinks that they could even beat New Orleans in New Orleans. I don't think that's happening. What do you think, Jet?
Yeah, I think the Saints win. I think the Bears will cover, the point spread. New Orleans impressed me by winning last week. A couple of weeks ago, there was so much inner turmoil fighting amongst themselves. When you bounce back with a win, that's the best medicine. I think they'll continue on the right path. They get the win over the Bears.
Jim?
I think New Orleans will win this, and I think he struggled last week when the Tagent. He wasn't as good the first week. He was good, but now he's just a guy. I mean, he's just a guy.
Yeah, it's tough playing in Chicago too. I think for any quarterback. Yeah. What do you think, Commander Nash?
Man, we're all on the same page. I agree. I think the Saints, with the division they're in, they can still have a chance to make the playoffs in the hunt. I think New Orleans get the win over the Bears.
You're going to make it unanimous there, Jet Man? You think New Orleans beats the Bears today?
Yeah, New Orleans at home. Carr, Chris Olave. I think they win at home.
I do too. The Colts are going into Carolina. Carolina gets its first win. The Colts, of course, are playing their backup quarterback, Minshew. He'll be there, I think, for the rest of the season. Minshew has had some good games. Carolina normally has a good defense. Their defense isn't bad this year either. I still think Bryce Young's a bust. I'll take the Colts beating Carolina. What do you think, Jack?
You beat me to it, Mac. I was about to say to you, now, what do you think of Bryce Young now? He actually maybe outplayed C.J. Stroud last week, even though I think Stroud's the better quarterback. He's going to have I don't think he's a bust. Jim doesn't think he's a bust. He's going to have a good career, Bryce Young. But I like Indianapolis in this game, tight game. They're only giving 2.5 points, so I think Indianapolis should cover the point spread there.
What do you think, Jim?
I already mentioned that. I thought that Indianapolis will win this game. They were one of my favorites. I think with Jonathan Taylor and their running game, and they have some good receivers too, and they should be fine in this game.
What do you think, Commander Nash? Can Carolina get a second win against the Colts?
Man, I live in North Carolina. I think them coming off a win, I think the Panthers are going to keep it close. I think they get a close win. I think they win by 3.
Now, Reich was the head coach for Indianapolis, so there's a little intrigue there.
It sure was.
All right, good. I'm glad to see someone taking Carolina. Jet Man, are you going to go with Commander Nash? Is this going to be like a community of super fans here against the world? What do you think?
I think Bryce Young is still got his training wheels on. Outside of Thielen having a big game, I think the Colts, Pittman, Downs, Taylor, Minshew madness, I think is too much for Carolina. I think they roll, even though I'd prefer Carolina to win with over the Colts. But
why is that, Jet Man?
Okay, all right.
No, I'm just asking why. I'm not.
I'm not a big Colts fan. It goes back many years.
Yeah.
Jim, is there really Minshew madness going on? I don't think there's any Minshew madness at the moment.
He's playing not bad. He's
No,
playing
I'm
well.
not saying no. He's okay. He's good fill-in, but after Anthony Richardson went down for the year, but there's not Minshew madness going on. I don't think he's creating a buzz.
Anytime he plays, there is madness.
He is
That is
truly
a good point.
Mike Leach. He is just like Mike Leach. He's a little bit eccentric.
He's very polarizing. He really is. He really is. The Giants are going into Vegas. We know that the head coach was fired, that our former middle linebacker, Antonio Pierce, is now the head coach. I would hope the Giants would win this game, but teams do rally against, or I should say in favor of, the substitute head coach. They come up fired up. They are probably all happy with the change at head coach. Makes them feel good, and I think they're going to give the Giants all they can handle, rallying around the coach. I think Jim knows a little bit about that. So I'll take the Giants. I don't even know the Giants will cover, though. Even at 2.5 points, I think they might just slip by like with 1 point, or maybe a safety or something like that. What do you think, Jack?
Yeah, I think the Giants win as long as their defense shows up. But you never know. The X factor, the intangible, is going to be Raiders' first game, under Antonio Pierce. If they hated Josh McDaniels so much, they're going to want to prove a point, and maybe they take their game up a level. I don't know. I defer to Jim on that because I never played the game. He's been in situations where coach has been fired, and if you hate that coach that was fired, you want to do extra well the first game.
I like Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley playing, but you make a great point. All you guys have made a great point about Devontae Adams and Hunter Renfrow are going to be free today. You got Josh Jacobs in I think I'm going to pick the Raiders. I'm not sold on it, but I think the Raiders will win this game. And I'm not saying that as a negative against the Giants. I just think they're going to rally around them because they're pretty good on the offense if they can get it going.
Well, they got a rookie quarterback. That's the only drawback there. That's going to be.
He's supposed to be, playing
because of course, Jimmy. Right. Yeah. So that's the only concern I have there. They do have a good running game. They do got a good pass rush. I'm nervous, to be honest with you. A few weeks ago, I wouldn't have been. I am now. Yes. What do you think, Commander Nash?
Well, like I said, the Raiders got a lot going on in the organization. Daniel Jones back. If the Giants defense showed up, like you're saying, I think the Giants can go. I think they can get the win. It's tough to go with the divisional team, but I think the Giants can get it.
What do you think, Chet, man?
I think Daniel Jones will have his best game of the year. 2 rushing touchdowns. I think the Giants' offense will show up for a change. They've been pretty dormant most of the year, but I think they score, and I think the Giants win on the road.
It was supposed to be a homecoming game for Waller. Their tight end is out.
He's out, and that's another good point. We have Dallas probably in the biggest game of the week, not counting the one that's on. Dallas at Philadelphia. Dallas going in there with 3-point underdog. Philly at home. Philly can dominate you on both sides of the ball. They have of course, they have 2 of the best receivers in the league. A little banged up is Hurst, of course. He's been kind of inconsistent this year. Eagles got a great running game. Dallas, on the other hand, is going to have to depend on Dak Prescott, I think, to win this game, even though they should be able to run the game against the Eagles. I'm surprised they're throwing as much as they are. Maybe that has something to do with the running back situation there, Jim. I don't know. I'd like the Eagles slipping by, but in a very tight game. I don't think it's going to be high scoring either, honestly.
I like
what do you think?
Dallas. I looked at it, and I've looked at everything, all the stats and everything. And Dallas is giving up 17 points a game, where the Eagles are giving up 24. And I think it's going to be 24-17. It's going to be right on. And I think that what we're going to see is not as much CeeDee Lamb. We'll see more Brendan Cooks. He has to separate. And Jay Ferguson, the tight end, and I'm concerned about Pollard. Because he hasn't looked like that running back that we need, and I'm really concerned about him. But I think that Dallas could eke it out. I think that is going to play well enough. And all they're doing is timing patterns now. They're doing short, more Green Bay than anything.
I agree, Jack. What do you think? I mean, there are so many weapons that Eagles have that Dallas really doesn't have. If you go tight ends, the wide receivers are playing better than the Dallas Cowboy wide receivers. They got a better running game right now than Dallas. Who do you like? I mean, are you with Jim? Do you think that Dallas could pull this off?
Of course they could win, and I expect a tight game. I disagree with you guys. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. Cooks and Pollard, they haven't shown up all year. I mean, when are they going to? They have to show
Cooks
up.
had a good game last week, Jack. Pollard.
Yeah, but all in all, you have to be disappointed, especially Cooks. If CeeDee Lamb isn't going to have a big game today, someone's going to have to do it for Dallas. And something about Philadelphia, their weapons are just so much more explosive. And the X factor is Jalen Carter. If he really has a big game, and
but he's a little beat up. They're a little beat up on the front. And here's the thing you got to realize is that Dallas might be right now is playing better defense than Philly. And that's hard to believe, but that's the truth, especially in the secondary, because Commander Nash will tell you Washington exposed them in the secondary last week.
Yes, we sure did. We got the weapons just like Dallas does.
Yeah, I mean, I expect Commander Nash to agree with you because he has the whole show. So, but what I'm saying is, Commander Nash, except for Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, Commander Nash is the same guy who wants to defer to Jim's picks on games week after week.
Oh, my goodness.
I know.
As I recall.
It's been many years in Washington and Dallas have been immortal enemies, but we've always been friends. We've always had great respect.
Right. We've always been
had a great respect.
Not when George Allen was listen. Not when George Allen was a coach, Jim. When George Allen was a coach, you guys weren't friends. So I think Commander Nash is going to agree with Jim about Dallas. Are you not, Commander Nash? Dallas is going to win this?
Man, I can't go for Dallas. I just can't do it. But I think it's going to be 24-27. I think it's going to be a good game, about 24-27. I can't go for Dallas. I can't do it.
I don't have it. I respect your opinion.
Jetman, Jetman is probably the most will be the most honest here because we all know each other so well. And
I like Jetman. He misses like the rest.
What do you think, Jetman?
True.
I want somebody on fire.
Yeah, I also think it'll be a good game, close game. Both defenses are really strong, but I think Dallas is going to win today and tighten things up a little bit in the division.
There you go, Jim.
If Dallas wins,
the person you never thought.
Yeah, but Mac, if Dallas wins, Philadelphia has to come to Dallas in December, or actually late November.
As you said, if we got 2 minutes, guys, let's get this in. We got Buffalo at Cincinnati. I like Cincinnati. Jack, who you like?
Cincy, they're my pick to win the Super Bowl. They're better than Buffalo. They'll beat them by about 10 points.
Jim, I bet you're taking Buffalo because you're a former Buffalo Bill.
I'm taking Cincinnati in a tight game. It's in Cincinnati.
Excellent. I'm proud of you, Jim. Who you taking, Commander Nash? Who you got?
Man, I was up in the game January when the Bills and Bengals played that Monday night. Cincinnati got the win. I'm going for Buffalo. I think Buffalo gets the win.
And who do you think, Jetman? Who you got?
I don't know. I think it's almost a coin toss, but I think Cincy at home. The Bills just don't have the moxie that they had the last couple of years. I think the Jets have something to do with that. Jets defense in the back of Josh Allen's mind.
Of course, we go back to the Jets just in time as we've got the Chargers against the Jets. I like the Chargers by at least a touchdown. Jack says he likes the Chargers. How much by, Jack?
Yeah, by about 7 points, something like a 20-13 type game. And next week, Jetman can get on me about Zach Wilson because I have a feeling Zach Wilson won't get it done.
Jim, who do you got?
I like the Chargers, but I'm nervous about this pick. The Jets are going to cover the points.
Okay, Jets are covering the 3. What do you think, Commander Nash?
Chargers by 6.
And Jetman, be honest, who do you got?
You know, I constantly say that I wish the Jets would get a quarterback, but that doesn't mean I don't root for Zach Wilson. I want him to do well. I want the Jets to find their way, and I think tomorrow night they find their way. I think they dominate tomorrow night. I think the defense blows them out. I also fear because then everyone will say everything is right now. The Jets blow them out. They win by 28 points, and all is right with the world. We made the right choice. Zach Wilson.
All right.
You're picking the Jets to win by 28 points? Jetman,
Yes.
I love it.
Jack, he's on there.
We got
Jack, Jetman has obviously been drinking this. That's all right. So guys, we're done with the show. We gotta let everybody go. Right now, Kansas City is still up 7-0. The Dolphins have the ball. It's been pretty much a defensive game so much. So anyway, we'll see what happens. Everybody have a great Sunday. Thanks for tuning in. And